Hello again. Andrew Coates here, student for ITL 528. This will be on my blog. Um, First of all, I promise I have more than one shirt. I know this is the same one I'm recording the last video, but you know, it's got to be done sometimes. So I just wanted to take a quick second to explain what I did for assignment one, or yeah, 1A and 1B. I kind of combined the two in that I just took my lesson idea and I made the summary and the scope and sequence planning with assessments and all that. I just did that all at once because that's just comes more naturally to me to do it all in one go rather than at separate times. And I used my own format for doing so that I'm just familiar with and comfortable with from lesson plans I've made in the past. So that's what I did. I am going to try my best to teach an ERWC unit straight from ERWC's online curriculum. I'm going to try to teach it online via Google Classroom. We will see. Um, the only thing I think I have going for me, or maybe a couple things. One, I think I've planned it out pretty well, and two, um, my seniors have been with me all year and they kind of know how the class works. So I'm going to try to make this flow like any other assignment does. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to be there physically to help them out with it, though I think I'm going to offer some occasional Zoom meetings that are be optional to help them through it. So the unit they'll be doing is called Juvenile Justice, and it has everything to do with the juvenile justice system. I chose this one because a lot of them, all of them, have either taken U.S. Government class or are in it right now, and this has to do with the court system. And so I think we're going to experience some cross-curricular learning here. The other reason I chose, I think it's super engaging. Um, it's something that has to do with people their age. Um, and really the core question of the unit is, at what age should a minor be held responsible for committing a crime as an adult? So when should age play a factor into committing some crimes? And I'm not just talking about graffiti or armed robbery or something like that. We're going to use murder, the most heinous crime, as kind of the template for this, or the example. So the kids are going to start off by taking I call it a ranked values clarification, where I have 12 scenarios, and they're just going to rank them for 1 to 12, best to worst, regarding they're all just different scenarios, and hopefully the idea is they'll be able to see at the end of it where their values stand. I like to backwards map, so I've planned the assessment already. And it's going to be an open letter to somebody from the unit. So whether that be an author of one of the texts they're going to read, the host of the podcast, one of the characters in the podcast they're going to listen to, something like that. Somebody who is involved in the criminal justice system, specifically for juveniles. So the texts are really cool too. One of them is a scientific article that talks about brain development, and the findings are kind of interesting, and I think some of the kids might react a little offended to them, basically saying, your brains aren't developed until you're 25 years old. And the last part of your brain to develop is the prefrontal cortex, which has to do with decision making. And so should that be a factor when we decide whether or not to charge minors as adults? One of the other texts, I got 2 opinion articles. One is in favor of charging minors as adults in heinous crimes, and the other offers the opposite viewpoint. And then I'm gonna have them listen to a podcast, and the podcast is cool because it takes the abstract of juvenile justice and puts it into the reality, because these students or the podcast host follows she's an investigative journalist, and she follows this kid who's in juvie, and it's really, really, really interesting. And hopefully they'll have some takeaways from that. The final task of the unit is to write that open letter, and they'll be able to draw from all of those various sources to synthesize them and make one really good persuasive piece. So we'll see how it goes. It's an experiment. We're going to see. And hopefully, because I've planned this all out so well, and because ERWC does really have good material, that the kids will take something away from it. I feel really bad for the seniors. It's their last few months, few weeks as a high school student, and it's going to be held online. So this is my attempt to give them something they can take away and bring to college next year. ERWC follows this predictable arc where you start with mentor text and you read and you annotate and you go with the grain and against the grain, and then finally you write your own text. And so that is what this unit hopes to accomplish. Experiment. We'll see. Great. Thanks. I've linked the lesson plan assignment 1A and 1B on the same webpage as this video. So check it out if you'd like to see what I'm talking about. Thanks again for listening. Have a wonderful day.